Okay, welcome back to my second team of this series. We've got North Melbourne reviewing a game against their last game against Gold Coast in round 24. They ended up winning this game. Larky kicked 9, so should be plenty for us to review on this one. Okay, so just sort of the same as we did with West Coast, we'll look at some of the stats that can help us find ways to win the game. So the first one we have is look after the footy. North Melbourne give up a lot of disposals. They don't turn it over a lot, and they give up a lot of uncontested disposals. You can see their positive there's their metres gained per opposition disposal is second best in the league, only behind St Kilda. It's because they give you those short kicks early on. They want you to take those kicks instead of cutting them up through the middles. Really slow down your attack. There's some videos on it later that will demonstrate this. Second one is limit centre clearances via contested footy wins. They've got some great midfielders in there and some good setups, which shows you that they're only 8th for centre clearances when their contested possessions are 17th. So if you can end up dominating them at the centre clearances, maybe tagging Davies Uniacke out of the game, their rebound 50 rate is also second worst in the league, so it could be an easy way to win the game. And the third is to lower your eyes and hit leads inside the forward 50. So they give up second most inside 50s in the league, and they also concede lots of marks inside 50s. But they're also at the AFL average for intercept marks. Ben Mackay is quite a good interceptor, so losing him might hurt them this year. But if you hit those leads, they seem to struggle in defending those. Okay, so North had a pretty good game this game. They started off slowly. So when I think they're at their best is the chaining handballs, flicking it to wide open space. That gives them plenty of run and plenty of space to hit targets inside 50. We'll have a few video clips to show you exactly what they want to do coming up. But we just got some stats here. It's the North handballs through the quarter. My theory is that they want to handball it more to flick it out to open space. So we can see in the first quarter, I think it's 38 handballs, and they end up losing that quarter. The next quarter, they go up to 43 handballs. They slightly win that quarter. And then the next quarter, their best one, they're up to 60 handballs. They were really flicking around, really looking dangerous. Just really taking the piss out of Gold Coast. But sort of where my hypothesis has a hiccup is last quarter, they're the lowest handballs in the game for the quarter, yet they still had a very positive quarter. So I looked at some other things like Gold Coast pressure acts. As you can see, they're rising for the first 3 quarters, and then they take a big drop off in the last quarter, which leads me to believe that North didn't need as many handballs to get out of trouble and hit their forwards. Okay, in this clip we want to look at how North Melbourne want to move the ball. We were mentioning in the previous slide how the third quarter they were really using the handball well and putting score on the board, so that's where we are at the moment. Things I want you to think about while watching this is that normally North Melbourne get an average of 19.8% inside marks per inside 50. In this game they were up at 34%. I think this is one of the reasons why these handballs were releasing and giving Larky such space that he could work over his defender in Collins. So if we look at this,
some speed, their
ball's up here, it's getting flicked around by handballs,
he's always moving. This is why he's getting the
eventually are releasing him to the side. These forwards will have to lead up, and it gives Larky space back here. The reason there's so much space is because when those forwards lead up, the Gold Coast defenders have to honour it because they could kick to them. And then Larky kicks one of his 9 goals. Okay, so the next 2 slides here are going to focus on the uncontested disposals that North Melbourne give up and their low metres gained per disposal. So in this clip, we're going to have lots of short kicks, lots of quick handballs, because North Melbourne have a spare way back in their back line. Ben Mackay is a spare because Tristan Xerri has dropped off to pick up his man. So if we roll through this, we can see that they're able to move the ball sideways because they've got one player down in defence. They're able to pick apart and find the open man, and then these defenders are able to run up with no players on them and receive the ball again. As you can see, players have dropped back again so that this man's free, hands off, and then they avoid the spare here by going wide. If we just sort of go back a little bit there, we can see that here's the spares here. Well, sorry, this one's the spare, and because they've been able to work it up so far, they can easily avoid them by hitting a good target on the lead. This is the second clip of the uncontested possessions that North Melbourne give up. So we roll it through here. Collins has the ball here. Quick little kick here. As you can see, they're defending higher up the ground so that they can't be burnt through the middle. There's a player here that would take a ripping kick to get to, but Gold Coast are happy to just move around here, and that's what North are giving them. They've got plenty of space between these players, so if they lead, it's an easy target to hit, but it doesn't move the ball anywhere. So we give it, they get it there, move it to halfback. It's taken a long time and 5 disposals, and they're about the same distance from the goal as they were. And North now have them probably pretty much where they want them. They want them tight on the boundary so they don't have many options, and then they can close them up. So this is where they start to get tighter as Flanders takes the mark here. Now this is where you want them to probably go down the line. You don't want them to cut you open with a kick here. So we just play it there. Flanders tries that, which they didn't want, and it opens them up. And they're out the back from that. So that sort of shows you the dangers of playing that game. You need to be switched on to avoid them getting over the back like that, and as they can get a nice forward 50 entry from that. So the next two slides are going to show you the difference between the forward flank stoppages in the first half and the second half. In the first half, North were playing a spare way back, as we mentioned. So if we count them up, Gold Coast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at the stoppage. North 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the stoppage. So it led Gold Coast to have an outnumber at every stoppage pretty much. In the first quarter and a bit, they switched to spare late in the second, I think. So if we just roll through this, I don't think too much happens, but see North are trying to work it to the back. Defenders have come off. But because they've got the outnumber at the stoppage, they're able to get numbers here and win the footy back. And then they've just got options in the centre. Alright, so in this one we're looking at the second half forward flank stoppage where they've got even numbers at the contest this time. So we'll just roll through it so we can see everyone. Yeah, okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The difference here is that with an extra number around the contest, North were able to start winning a few more of these, and in a dangerous spot like your forward flank, a stoppage win is very important. So if we roll through, they're able to use the numbers at the back that they wouldn't normally have because they had the spare back, and I mean they had an open target there, but they butchered the kick. It was just, that's the sort of difference between how they were playing in the first and the second half. Now we've got a defensive flank stoppage in the first half. This is back when they've got their spare. It's a bit hard to see, the quality's not the best, but there's a spare way back here. This also is a great angle to give us an opportunity to see how they set up their forward line at these stoppages. So we've got Larky here, and then we've got sort of an arrow. We've got north forwards here, here, and here. Pretty good setup. These guys will lead into the space out here. If the ball comes out this way, these guys will get round the back here if that goes out that way. But if it comes out this way, these guys have so much space. Larky's going to come back this way to lead up, and then these two will come around the fat side as well. If we roll through it, it's sort of what happens here. So he goes out this way at first, but couldn't get a clean possession. They kick it in. Well, they kick it in now. And North Spare is able to impact the contest, sort of. Just a bad mark by Casbolt. And look at the numbers that in the space they've got out here because they're set up. And then Larky, who's run back, is able to tick up and lead at this footy. He doesn't get there in the end and it goes out. But it's a good setup for a defensive half stoppage. Right, so now we've got the defensive flank stoppage in the second half. Just sort of roll through it as the players get to their position. Stop it here. And as we can see, there's no spare back here anymore. The spare has moved up to the contest, allowing him to win more at the stoppage. Now, I assume they've got a similar setup down the line. We can't really see that. But they do get numbers over this side when it comes across after Will Phillips wins the stoppage here. So roll through that. Ball comes in. Numbers at the stoppage allow him to flick it out to the back here. And then here's the numbers out this side. He takes a good mark. They have a bit of an attack, but they mess it up in the end, I think. Here's one of the things that bringing up the spare defender to match the opposition really helps with front half turnovers. A lot of teams really love an emphasis on getting front half turnovers because, I mean, less distance to the goals once you do turn it over. And this is just sort of a short clip of how effective they can be. You get a turnover there, you've already got the numbers down, and you can have players cheat out the back like Simpkin here and run into an easy goal. So just the player up instead of being back just helps with the pressure and helps create these turnovers. Okay, this is just after a centre bounce has happened. There was a bit of congestion. We can still sort of see the remaining setup. We've got North players all following here, except these ones, when they've won the ball, these North players have pushed out wide to be options. They do have control of the ball here. They start working up the middle. These forwards, they've all crept in post centre bounce to be an option if it comes out, and also to give space to put people back here. And that space is really critical because they ended up running it out, and look how much space there is for all these forwards to cut back here. And ends up with Eddie Ford who kicks the goal. This is sort of just how they worked it through the middle there. Just chaining handballs, which is what we said they're really good at. Right, we got a forward 50 stoppage here for the North Melbourne. Just move that forward a little bit. We can see at the back here, they're playing man on man. Nothing too different about that. In terms of their setup, we've got a few attackers here on the boundary side, as we've said in the West Coast video. A lot of teams like to leave this area free. Gold Coast has got a spare here to stop that run. And then these two players here, this is called the Saturn defense, brought in by Clarko at Hawthorn. So, you know, the Saturn, the planet with the rings. So this is their ring of defenders on the outside. These players will keep distance from each other and will try to always be on the outside of these Gold Coast players. He's in the wrong position a little bit here. He needs to be a bit further back. But that's sort of how they want to stop you from getting out, is by creating this ring